pass the message. Innocent victims are unacceptable. They are out of bounds. They're off limits.
I want to be there for the community, but having experiences like this over and over and over again, and seeing little kids is.
This is another tragedy, because no child, and certainly not an infant, should be the victim of gang violence.
This is a senseless, despicable act of violence that is heartbreaking.
All right, take a moment and look at this sweet face. Look at that 6-month-old. She is dead now. She was shot 5 times in Chicago while her dad was changing her diaper. Dad was hit too, the target of gang violence that now plagues that city, as you've heard. More than 500 murders in Chicago last year alone. That little girl's name, Janiah Watkins. She died yesterday in Chicago after a couple of surgeries to try to save her life. I want you to know, we're just going to leave her picture up on the right side of your screen here, because this is about her. I mean, here's the biggest problem on the streets of Chicago here, is gang violence. People are afraid to speak up, and she's the one that paid the price this week. There were 433 murders in 2011. 305 of them are still unsolved. I want to introduce you, though, excuse me, to a man who's committed to change in Chicago. He is going door to door in the roughest neighborhoods with this flyer, see it there, demanding justice for that little 6-month-old girl. His name is Andrew Holmes, a well-known community activist in his city. And Andrew, I just want to thank you so much for what you're doing. I think that people are probably astounded to realize that you're going door to door to try to find who killed this little girl. How do you know who's going to open that door? I mean, you're putting yourself in some pretty dangerous situations, yes?
Well, we have to take that risk, and I have to take that risk because, you have to take a person that loses his life, especially this little girl, you have to take it in consideration. This could have been your own child, and this could have been somebody that can enhance the quality of life of many, many people.
Help us understand day-to-day life in this neighborhood. I mean, we don't live there. We don't understand how dangerous it is. Just in the middle of an afternoon when this little girl was shot 4 or 5 times, I think. Help us understand what you are living with on a daily basis.
Well, on a daily basis, any child could just lose his or her life just by walking to the store due to a person taking a weapon, just discharging this weapon, trying to take another person's life, which is unacceptable, and we're not going to accept it here, and we're letting them know, whether they're gang members or not gang members or they have any dispute with anybody, they need to put these guns down and handle their situation in a better way, like men, and just talk it out without coming to violence. And we have to keep on bearing not only our children, but our teenagers. Do you find a lot of it is gang related? And if so, are they just shooting random people because it's a game to them? Or do they have some sort of number they have to meet to be in a gang? I mean, what is going on? Well, a lot of the shooting is not related to gangs. You have some domestic disputes. You have some disputes about money. You have some disputes about maybe a lover's quarrel. A person takes a gun, don't have no training of how to shoot a gun. They may have alcohol in their system, may have a lot of drugs, which is chemical-laced drugs that a lot of these teenagers are taking, and their mind is clogged up, and the first thing they do is pull out a gun and it discharges. I mean, it's just take a second for that gun. You take that gun, point it, and discharge it. Before you know it, you don't even know you shot that gun.
Brian, Andrew, I know you've got a question for me.
Andrew, Ryan Smith here. You're a victim of gun violence. You've been a crusader against these kinds of crimes ever since. Your efforts have paid off. Reading about you, you helped make arrests in more than a dozen high-profile cases. You've rescued more than 50 young victims of kidnapping or human trafficking. Tell us this. How do you do what you do?
Well, first of all, as I stated, you have to have a heart and a passion to just see anyone just take an innocent person's life. If I could, number one, change places with this 6-month-old baby that lost her life, I would change places just to give this mother the time that she needs to enjoy the life with that child. But working with Morrison Investigation and the Chicago Police Department and the ministers and pastors in trying to help enhance the quality of life, you have to take in consideration, you know, once that casket is closed, there's no tomorrow. So, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, I had a dream. Our mission is to save this dream. Now, we have to constantly educate these kids, because that bullet hits your heart, hits your artery, it's over with, and they don't understand that. And I'm not going to stop until we can save many kids as we can.
Andrew, this is the thing that shocked me about Chicago. In 2013, January, 42 murders. We go back to the reign of Al Capone. The peak of that reign, only 26 murders only, but it's still a lot in January of 1929. Do you have a theory on what is happening today? Why it's so bad today, Andrew?
Yeah, you know, we have to look at our drug situation here, where we have so many chemical-laced drugs that teenagers are being introduced into, and some of the older adults, and we have a parenting problem here, with a lot of them are not being parents, and a lot of kids are reaching out looking for love, but they're looking for love in all of the wrong ways. And I look at it the same way. Yeah, it's worse than Al Capone days, but you know, we're maintaining, doing the best we can. Superintendent's doing the best he can, but I also, you know, wonder why that they spend billions and billions of dollars to help other countries, when in our own backyard,
I'm with you
the
there,
other countries
Andrew.
They're not putting billions and billions of dollars here to help us in the United States, not just only in Chicago.
Let me ask you this, Andrew, because you sound like a guy who has absolutely thought this through. How do you turn things around? Where does it start? Where's the first area that you attack and say, here, if we can do this, we can make incredible inroads to stop these murders?
Well, you know, first of all, we need more funds here to fund more programs other than showing these kids, the kids looking at guns. Other than, everybody can't play basketball. We need more funds here to teach them construction, how to be forensic science. Some of these parents don't have the funds, income to send their kids to school. But I look at where we are spending billions of dollars overseas, when we can have these schools here and pull a lot of these teenagers in and teach them a lot of these trades and get them off the streets. And we have a lot of kids that are in the psych ward now because of the drug addiction that's here, the human trafficking that's here. But we have to maintain.
Hey, Andrew, I want to remind our viewers why this is so important. Take a look at the 6-month-old girl who was the latest victim, shot 4 or 5 times. A 6-month-old shot 4 or 5 times. It's just unbelievable. Andrew, real quickly, we only have about 30 seconds left, but I wanted to ask you, you're going door to door, you're trying to find this killer in a very dangerous neighborhood. Do you have backup? I mean, are you a one-man band here, or do you have people who are on your side trying to do the same thing?
No, I have plenty of people that are in the organization. We take it block by block. Some of the time I take it upon myself. I do 99% of the time get out there by myself. You know, I just can't stand to see anyone just take a person's life and just think you can laugh. This person that took this child's life should have been in custody 1 hour after this incident happened if people just speak up.
All right. Hey, Andrew, thank you so much. We appreciate all that you're doing, and we're going to keep following you in this neighborhood and whether they ever find this killer of this little girl. But boy, Godspeed to you for all the work you're doing, and thank you for sharing it with us today.
And thank you.
Sure. To put the sheer volume of violence in Chicago into perspective, since 2001, there have been 2,187 American troops killed in Afghanistan. Same time period, more than 5,500 have lost their lives on the streets of Chicago.